What we're doing with this movement is, if the shoulder's a ball and socket joint, we're just gonna really grind that ball in the socket to try to carve out a little mobility and get that shoulder used to rotating. I like to use a lacrosse ball or tennis ball because the more we're really gripping, we're basically trying to squeeze out as much juice in the arm as possible. So I like to work on an active grip, an active tricep contraction as I'm doing this shoulder rotation, just to try to get a little more muscle recruitment through the entire arm. It's also important to note that there's a few ways the body will try to cheat shoulder rotation. So what we're wanting to see is this upper arm bone spinning in the socket. What can happen though is basically just the elbow and forearm can rotate. So if people are just thinking about moving at the wrist, that's typically what's going to move instead of the shoulder. We can also just work on like pulling the shoulder blades back to try to cheat this rotation. So if you feel like you're just doing a lot of shoulder blade pinching, your shoulder blades are trying to cheat. So all we want to see moving is just this upper arm bone swiveling in the shoulder socket. So what I do is I take my lacrosse ball or tennis ball. We're going to start with just the arm down at the side. I kind of think about pulling those shoulder blades down into my back pocket and kind of locking them out there. And again, I'm doing an active tricep contraction too to lock out that elbow. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to contract the back side of my shoulder now. That's going to spin my arm bone back, kind of bringing like my bicep forward, and I'm going to hold that contraction for a second. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to contract now the front of my shoulder here as I kind of roll this upper arm bone forward. My bicep is spinning down towards my body here, and we want to make sure we're not just letting the shoulder blade roll forward. I'm going to hold this now for a second or two, and then I'm going to spin back into, this is external rotation. So I'm going to hit some rotations here with my arm down at my side. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to start kind of working my way up. So now I'm going to come at like a 45-degree angle. Same thing. I'm going to contract back of my shoulder, spin that upper arm bone back, contract the front of the shoulder, really spin that upper arm bone forward, trying to get as much juice out of the arm as possible. Hit my reps there. Then I might start coming out to the side. Again, I'm keeping that shoulder blade down, rotating upper arm bone back, rotating upper arm bone forward, hit my reps there, and then I'm going to start working a little overhead. Once I get overhead, I've got to really kind of think about pulling that shoulder blade down as I rotate back and forward. And then I can even work all the way into a overhead position here where I'm working again on rotating both into external rotation and internal rotation. What you'll find is that you've got more movement with your arm down at your side. As you start getting into the overhead direction, you're going to have a lot of external rotation where we're spinning that upper arm bone back, not as much internal rotation, and that's normal. But what you're focused on is just really isolating that movement, getting as much muscle recruitment through your arm as possible. As we start carving out that rotation, that'll help restore shoulder range of motion and joint mechanics.